When I get asked questions from a journalist about what it takes to succeed or how did I succeed, I think they're looking for some magic bullet question of, I went to MIT and Harvard and I got an MBA and that led me down the path of success. And I end up talking to them more about grit and professionalism and punctuality and persistence. And you realize that a lot of times you see people that are really successful in life and you step back and you're trying to figure out how did they do that? Because we all know a lot of people that have master's degrees and they got these, they spent $200,000 on education, and then you got the other friend who like didn't even go to college and they're like millionaires. And you try to figure out like why? How does that happen? And I try to explain to people that there's certain things you have to do if you really want to be successful. And it's strange, not strange, just it didn't make sense to me at 20. I started to figure it out at 30, and by 40, now it makes sense. And I look back at the 5 most successful people I know right now, and they all share very similar traits. And I call it the 3 Ps. They share several other traits, but these are 3 very common ones, and I'll talk about them. But the punctuality side of it, I think, is greatly undervalued, especially for what you see coming out of college. I've had new hires straight up tell me that they'd show up late on their first day of work and say things like, my father said it wouldn't be a big deal if I was late today. Or, like, my professor didn't care if I showed up late to class. And I would say, well, your father's not doing your job. If you want me to call him to see if he'll come down and do it for you, I'll call him. No, joking. And the same thing with you're a professor. I'm like, yeah, but your professor's not paying you money to be here on time and work. And I just realized that you can go all the way through life, have 2 decent parents, and spend $100,000 on an education, and then no one ever taught you how important it is to be on time. And what's crazy is most people don't like when other people show up late. And I've run into a lot of people that will show up late and then, like just friends, they'll be late themselves, but if you're late to something that they're doing, they get mad. And you realize that punctuality matters. It's the definition here, the quality or habit of arriving or being ready on time. And I tie this together because you can't keep showing up late to work. You can't show up late to customer meetings. You can't show up to like boardroom meetings and expect to be successful. And it comes down to, can the person you're working for rely on you? Are you dependable? And I think a lot of people don't realize that your value isn't just your education. Your value isn't just your skill sets. It's what is the value if you have a Harvard MBA and you got, you're a master of a craft, but no one knows if you're going to show up today. Your value goes down pretty quick at that point. And that's a lot of times when you see these people that have found a way to be really successful in life, they just have these certain traits. One of those, you can just count on them to be there on time and ready to go. Crazy example, but my father worked in a steel factory making no money an hour. He had an 8th grade education. If his shift started at 7, he was there at 6:30. That is something he taught me, and that's how I've been. I had 2 jobs, 3 jobs as a teenager, 13, 14 years old. And my job started at, 7:30. I didn't walk in the door at 7:29. I was always there early. And my bosses always appreciated that. So they gave me more shifts, and they gave me raises. But my father would always show up in half an hour early, have a little breakfast, get his coffee in, go to the bathroom, and BS with the guys for a few. And then he'd go to work. He didn't run in right at when the shift started in a frantic panic and not knowing what's going on. This made him more valuable even as a steel factory worker. So it's just something you got to think about. The best way to do it is flip it around, and if you were a boss or a business owner or whatever it is, do you like when people don't show up on time? If you're having a birthday party and half the people, you had the food ready at 7 p.m. and then everyone shows up at 9 o'clock and the food's cold, would you be happy? Very common things. I'm just saying, don't spend 10 years to figure this out if you're just getting out of college. This stuff matters, whether we like it or not. Next one I'm going to talk about is just professionalism. The people that carry themselves a certain way always seem to get further ahead. And this is, I think punctuality is part of professionalism, but just looking at the definition here, the conduct, aims, or quality that characterize or mark a profession or a professional person. It's one of those things that, there's people in my family and even family friends, they'll literally dig clothes up out of the hamper that are wrinkled and probably haven't showered in a day. They show up to work looking like a mess, looking like they live an unmanageable life, and they can't understand why they won't get promoted to manager, for example. And we get so lost in this, you shouldn't have to get all dressed up for work in suits and ties, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't make you a better worker. It doesn't. I get some of my best work done in a hoodie with my subwoofer blasting in my ear. That's my best work. I get that. But the thought is, if you show up every day in wrinkled clothes, looking like a slob, why would you think your manager or anyone's going to want to promote you into a position of leadership? And now everyone else is looking at you like, I got to take order. This person doesn't even look like they have their life together. We hate talking about this stuff, but it's the truth. It's, the people that end up becoming the leaders are often the ones that have some of the answers, that live somewhat of a manageable life. They're on time, they're reliable, they don't look like their life's falling apart. There's just certain characteristics of just being a professional. Understanding that there's two sides to a story. Professionals don't take one side of the story and make a decision. They want to hear both, for example. Looking at the second definition, the following are professions such as athletics for gain or livelihood. That's not what we're talking about so much here. I'm just focused on there's those people that just, if you ever had to pay someone to come to your house and they're doing trim or they're doing paint or doing some kind of work on your house. Those people that just screwed stuff up, they made a mess, they knocked a hole in your wall, they weren't painting, like they were just sloppy about it. And then there's those people that show up, they do the work well, they respect all your stuff, they clean up all the mess. I'm calling that person again more than the person that came over and just destroyed the place. How you conduct yourself as a person also increases or decreases your value. So the question is, do you wake up in the morning, do you act and carry yourself and dress like a professional? I'm not saying you got to put a suit on or, a dress. It's just, do I look like someone that is respectable who also respects themselves? And that's another thing. It's like, if you're looking at somebody who wants to take orders from someone that it looks like they don't have their act together, their life's falling apart, and they have no respect for themselves, you're never going to get the respect of other people if it looks like you don't even respect yourself. Think about how you carry yourself. And the better you carry yourself, the higher chance it is you're going to climb the ladder faster. And the last one, which I think is probably the hardest one, like we know we should be on time, we're not always on time. And just going back to the punctuality, everyone's late once in a while. Snowstorm hits, there's construction, there's traffic. It's okay to be late once in a while. I don't recommend showing up to work late on the first day of work. The first time I had my big job in tech, I was in that parking lot an hour early. It's just probably a little bit of an extreme. But when people ask me, how did you get where you're at? When there was times when I couldn't afford a risk, I didn't risk anything. So whether it was construction or a car, I was just there an hour early. Maybe a little extreme, you don't need to do that. Other times, Your car's not going to start. Snowstorm, construction, everyone's late. Everyone thinks like bosses and companies don't understand that. Life happens, okay? No one's that unreasonable. If you call off every Monday and then 2 weeks later you call off on a Friday, and then you call off on Monday and you call off on a Friday, yeah, you're probably gonna like start pissing people off. So I think most people understand life happens, but just try to be on time. But we know, be on time. We know, carry ourselves like a professional, and how valuable that is. Lastly, the persistence part of it. I do see a trend in the last 20 years where if it's not easy, people give up. If they can't snap their fingers and make it happen, they give up. If it doesn't work the first time, they give up. You see this in sales. A lot of people think they're going to call or email somebody one time, and if they don't buy, then that customer sucks and you got to move on. Persistence pays. Some of the biggest deals I ever landed when I was building my companies, I might have called on someone for a year. They might have told me to screw off a half a dozen times. Sometimes you just got to keep grinding, and you got to get that answer. I learned that in the tech world. There's times I'd have a book in front of me from the manufacturer of the equipment, and you would do exactly what they say and it wouldn't work. You just had to keep trying. I call it a hacker's mentality. You had to just keep trying stuff over and over and over until you finally get it. And we get to work and it's like, if we can't figure it out quick, we want to go ask our boss or coworker to tell us how to do it. And then everyone else is looking at you like, well, why are you getting paid? You need to go figure this out for yourself. And you have to have that persistence in whatever it is to try to get the job done. Just because it's easy doesn't mean you give up or quit. And it's like one of those things that we want instant gratification for everything. You get in a job somewhere, if they don't promote you in 6 months, you leave. How about you just persistently do good work and add value to the conversation and the company, and the promotion will come. Got a very good friend that his son does this all the time, and unfortunately, his career is nowhere right now. And he worked for some amazing companies that if he just would have stuck there for a couple years and put the work in, he'd be so much further ahead. But he didn't have the persistence. He just didn't get a promotion in 6 months. I went to Michigan State University. I deserve a raise. And I know he's going to listen to this episode. And we're going to have this conversation the next time I see his father. And I'm fine with that. But just have the persistence to keep grinding, solve problems, add value. When you absolutely can't figure it out, then ask. But I often say for many things, when you're getting paid, are you getting paid to show up and keep a chair warm, or are you getting paid because you have some kind of skill? So that thought is, you're going to have to figure something out. You can't just expect everyone else to tell you the answer. And when those answers don't come easy, you have to have persistence. It's very easy to just give up in this world. Everything's tough. Nothing seems to work, especially technology. When does anything technology just work the first time? You got to keep grinding. Don't give up. So that's my 3 P's for success anyways. Show up on time. Carry yourself like a professional. And just keep grinding and be persistent. Don't give up. Do these things, you're on your way to a better path on success anyways. Doesn't mean you'll be an overnight success, but it's probably certainly going to help. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one.